Can you see my dewy complexion today? It's called being hot. Hey guys, it's Jenny, and today's video is inspired by some books I read last month and the fact that I recently went through my reading statistics of last year and this year, and I realized that almost 70% of the books that I read last year, and as of now 50% of the books that I read this year, were YA or middle grade. And let me get this out first because miscommunications happen, so let's face it, it's the internet. I like YA, I enjoy reading YA, I have no problems reading YA or with other people reading YA, but I was analyzing my reading habits as a girl does in her free time, and I came to the conclusion I read YA because I watch a lot of booktube videos, and booktube and Goodreads, they're mainly dominated by YA. Sometimes I find it slightly hard to find book recommendations outside of like the big popular genres on booktube, not because they don't exist, but just because it's just such a hodgepodge and there's so much information overload that I find slightly difficult to depict what I'm actually interested in. If you find yourself in a similar situation and you might want to venture into like the more adult fiction area, I thought I'd just supply you with 5 of my all-time favorite books. These are not specifically like fantasy or science fiction or classics, they are just beautiful stories with beautiful characters where it's really easy to lose yourself in them, and hopefully they will spark your love. The first book that I'm going to talk about is a book that I've mentioned a lot recently, and it is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, and this takes place during World War II in Germany and in France, and it follows a blind French girl and a German boy and how they grew up and how their lives intertwine. If you want more information, I did like get an extensive book review on it. But I'm super happy because people have been actually hauling this book recently, which, you know, delights me, and now I just have to go convince them to bump it up in their TBR. The next book is Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go, and this book is science fiction and dystopian, but not really. That sounds weird, but that's just how it is. And it follows 3 friends, and they grew up in a private school where everything seems very idyllic, but some things are slightly weird, but they grew up normally, and it's about, you know, their friendship and secrets and their relationships with each other. And as they grew up, they realized that the world and life is not exactly the way they might have imagined it would have been. And there's a beautiful movie with Carey Mulligan and Andrew Garfield and Keira Knightley, and I really love it as well. The next book is one of my all-time favorite books, and it is The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. And if you're wondering, yes, it's about time travel. There's some science fiction elements in it, but there are also some romance elements in it, and there's also some really crazy good elements in it. And if you've seen the movie, as much as I love Rachel McAdams, screw the movie. Now let's just get this straight out of the way. This book follows the time theory that time is unchangeable. I watch Doctor Who, I know what I'm talking about. This book follows the 2 characters Henry and Claire, and Henry is the time traveler and Claire is the wife, hence the time traveler's wife. Time traveling is a genetic mutation in this book, and Henry can't really control where he goes, but he usually goes to events which have a really great emotional impact on him. So as it happens, his wife meets him the first time when she's at age 6. And Henry meets Claire in like the main timeline when he's like 28 and she's like 23 or something, and he has no idea who she is because he hasn't traveled to her yet. And this book just follows their lives, and what I love about it is just it's so intricate and interwoven, and I've reread this book multiple times, and every time I reread it I find something new because the story is just, you know, things happen in the beginning which then connect in the end or in the middle, and like even the chapter titles, like every time I read it I find something new, and I love it. I love this book. I love it. Mwah. I'm not gonna kiss it, otherwise I'll get lipstick on my iPad, but I love it. The next book that I am going to talk about is The Shadow of the Wind by Ruiz Zafón. This is historical fiction with gothic elements in it, and it's set in Barcelona after the Second World War, and it's like a hauntingly beautiful book lover's dream. It follows a boy named Daniel, and one day his dad takes him to a secretive place called the Cemetery of Forgotten Books, and basically when you go there you make a pact. You take a book, they're all forgotten or abandoned, and you take care of the book for the rest of your life, and the book that Daniel chooses is The Shadow of the Wind, hence the tacky name of this book. And it shapes his mind, and he loves it, and he tries to dig up information about the author, but the more he searches, the more he realizes that somebody's trying to eradicate all the copies out of this world. This book is part of a series, but it can be easily read as a standalone, and it is amazing. And the last book is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, and I love all of Khaled Hosseini's books. His books are just great, and I highly recommend all of them. This is just, you know, one of many of his absolutely brilliant books. And this one is set in Afghanistan, and it follows two boys, Amir and Hassan, and they are friends. And one day something really terrible happens to Hassan, and Amir behaves very unfriend-like, and it just kind of destroys the bond between them. And as political tension rises in Afghanistan, their ways separate. And as Amir grows up, he realizes the mistakes of his past, the meaning of friendship, and also just secrets about his family that he didn't understand at the time. And again, I sound like a broken record, but beautiful, beautiful characters, beautiful, beautiful story. So these were some of my favorite books, and just books in general that I like to recommend to people regardless of their gender and age whenever they come to me, because they're just universally great stories in my opinion. And I know that most of these books are widely popular, so maybe you've already heard of a couple of them and read a couple of them, but I still hope you found something new here. And yeah, maybe you guys have some great recommendations for me. So thanks for watching, happy reading, and see you next time. Bye bye. Look, national bestseller. National bestseller. Well, it came out last month, so what do you expect? Top 10 bestseller of what? Of my life? I don't know. International bestseller.